This is Eli Davis, and this is AI with Eli. And I have the pleasure of having one of the coolest people that I know, somebody who I have known for a number of years. So I am here to introduce Marlena Ward Dodds, Dr. Marlena Ward Dodds. I messed up on the doctor part because, I've known Marlena. I know two different names for Marlena that her family calls her. One of the cool things that about this podcast or about this particular episode is that Marlena is my best friend's sister. And my best friend passed away when I was 27 and he was 26 in a car accident. So this is, we haven't seen each other or we haven't really talked much throughout the years, but we follow each other, we make sure that we know. Of course, I have to talk to her mama. That's mandatory. And I love to because I learn so much and I get so much insight from the conversations that I have with this war. So without further ado, you know, I just want to go ahead and say welcome. Welcome,
You.
Nate,
I'm excited.
Marlene.
And I'm so
Yeah.
proud of you too.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. Yep, welcome. Very interesting. So, I've been reaching out to people who've been kind of getting into artificial intelligence because it's just an interesting thing to me. It's just interesting. So, before we started the podcast, we were getting ready to go all the way in it, all the way in it. So, first of all, I just automatically want to call you Nay.
That's
You know,
okay. You could
all right,
call me Nay.
all right, Nay.
It's all good.
Okay, good. All right, man. So go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us how you have gotten into artificial intelligence, why it's interesting to you.
Absolutely. So thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited and I've been just waiting for our time together and just excited about it. I finished up doing a short panel discussion. It was a couple weeks ago now, talking about AI, and I've been just kind of making myself a researcher of AI and more specifically how AI ties into higher education and learning and development and inclusive learning and development. That's kind of my niche area. And so it is, I think it's going to be a game changer. So I first got a little interested in emerging technologies through my master's degree program I finished years ago.
Mm.
I was an online instructional designer. And so was very passionate about online learning and how to make it inclusive because it was mainly adult learners. And so
Hmm.
it's a little different when you're dealing with adult learners. And because it was online, you had the technology component. And so finding those ed tech tools that really work and help with the learning experience. And so I've always had an interest there in what's happening in the ed tech world. And so when generative AI, we've been using AI, obviously, Grammarly and all the other tools that have, people don't always recognize that was AI. We've been using it. It's been
Hold
in
on,
our
hold on,
world,
hold
our
on.
lives.
Hold on one second, Nick. I remember I was taking an online course and I got a B plus. And I
Online, let me tell you something about online learning, though. People, it's if it's done the right way, it's the real deal. It
no,
challenges you.
the
It
professor,
challenges.
the professor, she didn't give me feedback until 5 weeks.
Yeah, and that's a problem.
Yeah, that's a
That is a
problem.
problem.
Yeah.
Huge problem.
So I challenged it. I even submitted a letter to the chair of the department,
As
right?
you should have.
He shut me down. He was like, man, if you don't get
You're gonna take this B plus and sit down somewhere is what he was saying. That's what you're gonna do. But
So,
online learning, like the feedback component is huge, right?
uh-huh.
And that's where, especially novice online instructors, they don't always get it right in that part because you got to do some coaching, mentoring, feedback. You got some elements of those. You have to do that in online learning. And the other thing I tell my students, and I'll kind of tie this in AI in a minute. The other thing I tell my students is even though you don't have me, like we're meeting asynchronous, right? We don't have a set time that we're meeting. I'm still available. So I'm still doing videos. I'm still trying to be present. I'm creating online, I have online chats for my online classes so that we're talking, we're building community, right? And I think that's sometimes what's missing in online learning is building that community. So I try to do that so my learners don't feel like they're on an island by themselves and don't
Yeah,
have.
I agree. That is important. Yeah.
Yeah. So tying that back to AI,
Hmm.
I think one of the things I'm learning is that AI is can be super beneficial in helping those facilitators, educators, instructors, professors, whatever we're calling ourselves in those in those learning and development capacities. You can use AI as a wonderful tool to help you. You know, if you're not
Hmm.
sure what to do, okay, let me ask AI what are some ideas, right? What are some
Hmm.
things that could help me and help my learners. And you can use it. So you can use it in so many wonderful ways. It doesn't have to, some people are using it to just generate content and copy it and paste it. But I like to use it to ideate, to get my brain flowing and
Hmm.
get
Hmm.
ideas and
Hmm.
chopping up the ideas like, oh yeah, I like that or I don't like that. Let me
Hmm.
tweak that. You know, it's a good way to help get the brain flowing, right? I love it. I love to use it that
I got a question.
way.
So in higher ed, there's a lot of writing going on, right?
Mhm.
One of my favorite writers, Ta-Nehisi Coates.
Oh,
He's
I'm reading the message now. I'm listening to it. It's phenomenal. Oh my gosh. That book it's been captivating. It's I can't even yeah, it's that book. I don't even know what chapter I'm on. I'm just in it. I'm
just in it.
actually listening to it and he's
Yeah, yeah.
narrating it, which
Yep,
is
yep, yep,
phenomenal.
yep. Exactly how I did it. And I didn't think that I was going to like it that way because, you know, I'm a fan. I'm a fan of his writing, but I enjoyed it. I do think that he's stunting a little bit on it though. He like he's stunting.
Don't give it away because I'm only on I don't know what
Okay, I'm
chapter.
not.
I'm at the
Yeah,
beginning.
yeah, 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 yeah. He's kind of popping his collar. This is a
Popping
little,
his collar a little
he's
bit.
popping his collar. You know, he should. But that last chapter is like he went in on that one.
Really?
Yeah, he went in.
I've never heard of him. I just recently, I think he was on the news talking, you know, on certain news channels talking about it, and then some of my friends started posting about it, and I'm like, okay,
Mm,
I got it. And then someone else who knows I like to read, she was like, you got to read this book. So
mm,
I finally started it this weekend while I was out walking, and I'm like,
mm.
oh, MG, this
Yeah,
is about to be good, good, and it's
yeah,
so far,
yeah,
it's really good.
yeah. So what he says is that when you're writing with artificial intelligence, it's really not writing. What
Mm.
about that?
You know what? I can see, especially a writer of his magnitude, like the kind of writer that he is, I
Mm,
could see where he would definitely, I could see where that's coming from. But I can also, looking at it through the lens of someone who just needs to write for a business email, a memo,
mm,
just learning, I think it could be a very useful tool. But I think creative writing may be a little bit different from those types
mm,
of writing. But I
mm,
don't, the classes that I teach are in the school in the area of business and learning and development, right?
mm,
And
mm.
so writing and my learners don't have to do a lot of writing in my
Okay,
classes.
okay.
But I do think there is some, again, going back to being able to use the tool to ideate.
Hmm.
I also think that because I work in business settings and talking to business leaders, and what's missing from the newer young people coming into the workforce are those durable skills, power skills, soft skills, people skills, like whatever word we're using for the day, right?
Hmm.
Um, those are the skills that are missing. And so when we're looking at tools and even digital literacy, right? It's
Hmm.
like people are on their phones and flipping through their phones, but they don't always understand how to use the technology the right way.
Hmm.
And so when we're looking at it, so I get what he's saying, but when we're looking at AI from a standpoint of being able to create an email, create a memo,
Hmm.
create a blog, like I think it can be a really cool tool to help someone who's not super comfortable with writing.
Hmm.
It can kind of give them, you know, something, a crutch or whatever, crutch,
Hmm.
so to speak,
Hmm.
to lean on to help them to build their confidence in their writing. Obviously, you still have to read it. One of the things I learned about AI is you still got to proofread. You still have to make sure it's not hallucinating because you copy and paste some stuff and it's crazy. You looking like, oh man, that's embarrassing.
One of the things that I use it. I'm a real fan of Basquiat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Abstract painter, Jean-Michel
Oh, oh,
Basquiat.
so you create, do you create images and art?
No, not necessarily creating images. It's like, what is this new paintbrush that we're using? You know what
Oh,
I'm saying? So it's like, okay, so I love to write. I'm a writer,
yeah, right.
but I also play the guitar.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So I know how to have something to be able to express myself with a tool. or with something else.
Yep. I
So,
remember when you started guitar lessons long ago. Remember you taught yourself how to play?
yeah, and that was a year after Quincy passed,
Yep.
and I was super depressed,
Yep.
and I didn't know, I had two kids. I had no idea what was going on in the world, and I needed something. So
I
I picked
remember
up the
that.
guitar. Yeah, so I've been playing, what is it, almost 24 years now.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I
24
remember
years.
that. You got good too.
Yeah,
Do your thing. Do your thing.
I can go to churches now and just go, excuse me, pastor, brother, pastor. You mind if
I love it. I
So
love it.
yeah,
But
so
yeah, so having that tool, right? Going back to what you're
yes.
saying, it's for folks who are not as confident in their writing,
Yep.
it could certainly be used as a tool. And if done correctly, the educator can help them learn how to prompt and learn how to pull
Hmm.
the best out of it, right?
Hmm.
But I get from a creative writing standpoint, I also get that. I get that too. I
Yeah,
get both
yeah, yeah,
sides of the
yeah,
coin.
yeah. So I teach at Miles College, a little HBCU at
Yeah.
Miles. Yeah,
Yeah.
so my students, they use it, and I have to have a whole, I said, okay, today we're going to take 30 minutes so that I can show you how to effectively use artificial intelligence, because I know I'm not getting ready to be able to stop you from using it.
Exactly.
But you
Mhm.
can't just go and just have this blanket general, my
Yep.
biases show this and all that. And I'm like, okay, so what biases?
Mhm.
Overly generalized is one thing. So we have a couple of questions
Yeah.
that we have here. And I am going to go to, what steps should be taken to ensure equitable access to the technology of AI is for all students. So first of all, explain that question for us, and then go ahead and let us know what we got going on.
Awesome. Yeah, that one was kind of stemmed out of panel discussion I just did recently.
Okay.
We were looking
Okay.
at ethics and AI. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you
Oh,
perfectly.
okay. And so I think well, the question, what steps should be taken to ensure equitable access to to the technologies for all students? I think it goes back to one, we meaning the organization, the educational organization, we meaning just communities of people, right?
Okay,
I
okay.
think,
Before we go into that part, step back just a little bit and
mhm.
explain to us what your ideas of equitable access is.
Oh, that's to me ensuring that everyone has access to the tools that are going to be necessary to take them to achieve their goals, whatever that is for them, right?
Hmm.
Everybody's at different places. Some people will need internet access, right?
Hmm.
Some people need to learn how to navigate the tools. So whatever,
Hmm.
meeting the learner where they are. That's
Hmm.
kind of what I'm thinking of, because everybody's at different places, right? And that's
Right.
what equity is not giving everybody equal access, it's giving them what they need. And
Hmm.
so
Hmm.
that's when I'm looking at that question, that's what I'm thinking. So in order to know what everybody needs, you have to have some type of evaluation tool to say, okay, we have X amount of students who need internet access. I know when COVID
Hmm.
hit, I think we really learned and it was even eye-opening for me being an educator. And at that time I was homeschooling my son.
Hmm.
Caleb was what, fifth grade, I think.
Hmm.
Yeah, fifth grade. And a lot of the things you
What
learn,
grade? Where?
what grade is he now?
Yeah, because
Yeah.
because I didn't have the privilege to get to know Caleb very much
Oh, he's a
before
wonderful
I
kid.
left.
You love him. He's an awesome kid. I'll have to send him and send you some pictures of him so you can kind of see. But
I would
he
love
homeschooled and loved, like, I love homeschooling him. And it
to.
was a perfect time, because we missed the junior high fiasco and the drama with junior high, the stuff happening to kids, and they're changing, and this is wild, right? And so we missed a lot of that. He was a little green when he started high school, but we have to have a lot of talks and like, okay, we have to help the brother out because woo, yeah. But he's good now. He adapted. I mean, he is wonderful. He was chosen to be a student ambassador for some. He's always picked for stuff. But anyway, I sidebar. So I was
Congratulations.
homeschooling, and I was, I'm an educator. And
Hmm.
so there were things I even took for granted. You just think people have access to a computer, have access to the internet, know how to navigate the learning management system and all the ed tech tools to help. Because when COVID happened, everything happened so swiftly that there was no very little data on who had what, who needed what, how they were going to get it. Like it was figured out, like you just have to figure things out, right?
Mhm.
And so
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
when I became more aware of the digital divides,
Uh-huh. Yes.
and what that what folks needed to be successful in a learning environment, especially now that everything was online.
Yep.
So when I look at a question like that, I'm looking at, understanding the needs of the people, of the
Mhm.
learners,
Mhm.
and then finding ways to make it equitable for them, like
Mhm.
whatever
Mhm.
tools that they need to do that. And so when I look at generative AI, I think it's going to widen the gap initially,
Mhm.
right? Because it's not like we've caught up on that gap. That digital divide is
Mhm.
there. It's been there. And now
Mhm.
you add another element to it, right? And so
Mhm.
now employers are adding this to, their ecosystems.
Mhm.
So now I have students, I'm saying hypothetically, if you have students who are already behind, now you're adding another element to it. It's just that much more we have to make up as educators, right? We have to try to
Right.
figure it out for them.
So real quick. So if I have my students listen to this,
Yeah.
now explain to them generative, why are you using generative
Oh,
AI
yeah.
versus just using AI?
Great question. Yeah. So as we were talking earlier, I don't think people always connect the dots that AI has been around. We've been using it. If you use Alexa, what's the other one? Hey Google. I
Mm-hmm.
hope my phone. Yep, it just came on because I said, "Hey Google." Grammarly, some of these writing tools that people use.
Yep.
They're embedded in different parts of our lives and our worlds already, right? There's some
Canva.
Canva is another one. Yep, absolutely. So it's there, and we've been using, and that's artificial intelligence,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
Mm-hmm.
when we think of generative AI, and I think most of the times when people are saying AI, they are referring to generative AI, but we don't always say that.
Mm-hmm.
And generative AI is really, in a nutshell, is helping you generate content. So when we say generative AI is generating, maybe it's images, maybe it's content, text.
Mm-hmm.
It could be a whole bunch of different. There's some cool stuff you can do. And Chat GPT is just a tool, it's just a large LLM that helps
Mm-hmm.
you generate some of the content from.
For now.
For now, oh yeah, this
For
is stuff,
now.
man. This
It's
stuff popping off. You hear me?
just for
And
now.
you think like I'm researching this stuff, and it's so much, right? And so you can
Mm-hmm.
easily get overwhelmed with it. But my thing is, I don't want, because of the digital divide, I don't want people to be left behind. I feel like people are already
Yes.
behind the eight ball a little bit, right? And so one of the things I want to be intentional about, and I am intentional about with my students, whenever I have the opportunity to integrate AI and
Mm-hmm.
explain AI and just get people started on it. Like you don't have to master it, but I need for you to just start,
Just to use it.
just
Just
to use it,
yep.
right?
Yep. I'm very concerned about the digital divide being in Alabama and teaching in Birmingham. I know that plenty of the students don't have access to Wi-Fi. Plenty of the students don't have access to cell phones, and hardly none of them have been using or have been introduced to artificial intelligence. And if they are using it, they're using, Snapchat's chatbot, and which I hear is not bad, to be honest, but
Uh-huh.
you know it is based off of social media. And my concern, how I started to get into artificial intelligence deeply, is because of that digital divide and knowing
Mhm.
that for the first time, for the first time, African American people
Mhm.
have been able to be at the precipice of something so
Yeah.
transformative.
Yeah. 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 That part.
Yep.
Absolutely. Mhm.
Yep. We have always been, whether or not it was some anti-literacy law, or whether it's not something that constrained us to be able to push forward or to be introduced or to have had the opportunity to
Mhm.
navigate it. This to me is one of the first times in which many of us have the ability to be at the ground level of
Yeah.
something and,
Yeah.
and also have the wits about ourselves and the mental stability,
Mhm.
the fortitude to
Mhm.
be able to learn and to navigate and operate. I think that's to me, that is like one of the crucial components that I try to tell
Yeah.
everybody like, hey y'all, you know,
Mhm.
there's probably going to be a lot of money to be made. There is going to
Oh, yeah.
be, yep, there's going to be I know that they are going to be some kind of closings of positions and it's going to take this and do this. However, there are going to also be some openings. And
That part. Mhm.
if you don't have the skills or you haven't been navigating and operating and using it, then those opportunities won't be for you.
Mhm. Yeah. I mean, if you think about it, everything that is happening in our K through 12 system, everything they're teaching these kids is going to be pretty much obsolete before they're done. They're not integrating AI into, like, I'm telling Caleb, listen, here, I want you to use a tool. Let me show you how to use it. No, you can't copy and paste because it could be hallucinated. Like, I'm trying to teach him this stuff now because understanding when he gets out there after he's this is going to be expected for you to know, and they're not integrating this stuff into the school system. They're not integrating into the curriculum. Like, some of the publishers may start some, and I've noticed some publishers are starting. That's if you're using publishers content, but I think as an educator, it's incumbent upon us to, especially folks like us who know that this what was this, the fifth revolution.
Yeah, yeah.
We know that this is happening. It's incumbent upon us to at least make our learners aware of it,
Yeah.
right? And finding, because it's going to infiltrate every industry, every job, like everything, right?
Hmm.
And so I'm very intentional about that because I recognize to your point, everything you just said. I want every student that comes across my path, every person that I have contact with, to understand, like, well, yeah, she said this. This is what she was talking about. So they won't say, nobody told me, but it'll be up to you. I can give you the tools. I only have you for a short amount of time, but I'll give you the tools, the resources, and the research. I'll give it all to you because I
Hmm.
want you better. That's why I'm in this game, right? I want people better when they leave me.
Hmm.
And so
Hmm.
I think it's incumbent upon us to figure out ways to introduce it, even if you can't go into, deep learning because you only have students for a certain amount of time. But I think it's so important because if not, we're going to continue to fall further and further behind.
Right. Yeah, and that's the truth. And we do think about this educational gap is going to be a chasm. It's
Yep.
going to be a chasm.
Mhm.
One of the things that when I use artificial intelligence, or general artificial intelligence, large language models, specifically GPT or Claude,
Mhm.
I use them as research.
Absolutely. Have you
Yeah.
used Perplexity? Perplexity is really good with
You
research.
know what? I don't know why I don't use perplexity. Blah, blah, blah. I can't even say it.
You will like it because I've used Claude, Chat GPT, and I think they all have
The
this
thing. Hmm.
special sauce, right?
Yeah.
But I found, being a researcher, being someone, I always like to have the backup. People, first of all, it gives you credibility as well.
Yeah.
And so, you might not be able to grasp it all, but I'm going to give you the research and the references so you can bag into it and do it on your own.
Yes.
And I
Yeah.
found Perplexity has been really good for me and helpful
Hmm.
in
Hmm.
giving you the resources
Hmm.
right away.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, try that one.
Yeah. 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 Do you use the paid versions or do you use the non-paid versions?
I use the paid version of Chat GPT.
Hmm.
I'm I haven't switched over to the paid version of Perplexity yet, but even without the paid version,
It's
it's
on point.
fire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to try that out. So with ChatGPT, what about the new feature, the Canvas feature? Have you used that one yet?
No, I have not used that one yet. I've read about it, but I'm going to probably try to dig in. You know what, I'm going to tell you something about October.
Hmm.
It has been in, and
Hmm.
I usually try to take, like, I'll read and stuff, but with Chat GPT, for me, I have to play around with it and do, get in there and do the stuff, right? And I haven't had the time. It seems like October this has been nice. Good stuff, great
Hmm.
stuff.
Hmm.
So yeah, I've read about that, but I have not been able to dig in like I want to yet, enough to intelligently about it.
It has its limitations to me because I think that it's I like to go on and on.
Yeah.
I'm sitting up there reading for hours, just diving
Yep.
deeper and deeper into stuff.
Deeper and deep.
Yes.
Mhm.
But what the canvas does is you can edit inside of it.
Oh, that's dope. That's dope.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you can
that's
edit.
dope.
You can just
Yeah.
edit. I mean, not only you can edit, you can go into and create highlight a sentence and say, I don't like how this sentence is worded. And how about we word this sentence like this? And it just one sentence. Bloop.
Love. Oh yeah, I'm definitely be digging into that. I think this weekend coming up, I have some free time, but
Mhm.
it's been nonstop. I'm
Yeah,
like, and you got to have the time because to your point, you just start.
hours
It's
and
not
hours.
like okay, I'm just do a little bit. If when you're like us, when your brains
Mhm,
function like
mhm,
ours,
mhm,
yeah, you got to have that block. You got to have that block
mhm,
of time so
mhm,
you can get in the flow.
mhm.
You want to flow with it, right?
Yeah, you want to flow with it. So, all right. So, all right, let's do another question. All
Mm-hmm.
right. So, how can educators recognize and mitigate the biases that artificial intelligence has? And I'm just going to say this. I'm going to say my piece.
Say your piece.
Because oh, me and Nate also went to high school together too. So, so,
Oh,
so,
great.
so, so, Oak Creek. So, Nate know that we held walk-ins and walkouts, and we were fighting for our
Police
rights and all
escorting
that.
us to the bus, you name it.
Yes, yes. So,
In the
so
90s, this wasn't like it was in the 60s, y'all, whoever listening.
yeah. So, what I'm very keen of the biases. Like when I want to write and I want to write critically, or when I want to engage on a critical level, I have to do so much digging, or when it's pumping something out and it will call black people individuals, like black individuals, or and it's like, okay, yeah, don't call black people individuals, just call them black people.
Right, right,
You
right,
know
right,
what I
right,
mean? Because I'm writing this as a black man, I would never say black
right.
individuals.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, I
Mm-hmm.
have to type in that I'm a black man. I have to type in, I even type in saying I was influenced by the 90s hip hop culture.
There you go. Yes,
Yes,
absolutely.
yes.
Absolutely.
You
Your
know what I
role,
mean?
that's your role. You telling the large language model, this is my role. And like this is the role I want you to speak from. I'm
Yeah.
an educator influenced by the hip hop, era, whatever.
Yes.
Then you're gonna
Yes.
get more precise output that
Because they
way.
don't know you.
It don't know you. It don't know you. It'll get to know you
Yes.
as you start to use it more. But yeah, it doesn't know. So you have to let it know you in the ways that what you want and so that the output is more precise to what you're actually
Real quick
looking.
sidebar with ChatGPT's memory.
Yeah.
Have you ever went to capacity on memory?
No,
Oh, man. I
not
go to
yet.
capacity all the
I
time.
got the paid version.
I got the paid version. I go to the
Okay.
capacity all the time. All the
Oh, you
time. I have
mean
to,
when you can't, yeah, for a
yeah,
day,
yeah.
for your days. Yeah, I've done that a
Mm-mm,
couple. No.
mm-mm. I'm
Oh,
talking
you go
about
to capacity.
memory.
Oh no, I ain't done that
Okay.
yet.
Yeah, I have to go in there often to go into the memory and like
And
delete the old
delete
stuff.
stuff?
Yeah, uh-huh,
Oh
yep.
no, I ain't
So
did that
look,
yet.
I think first of all, what I call it, it's gonna be name brand intelligence because it's gonna be like the Gucci, it's gonna be like the Louis Vuitton. It's gonna be
All right.
name brand intelligence. It's gonna be which one you can pay for.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Because it's
That's
a
a
huge
great point,
yes.
which is going to increase the
Yeah.
divide even more because now who has the resources
Ooh.
to pay for that? I mean, especially if we're
Mm-mm-mm-mm.
talking about how many models we're talking about threes. I mean, specifically now, but it's like a ton of them, right? So if you're paying for all
Yes,
of those, that's
yes.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's gonna be a name brand intelligence. There's gonna be a lot of people that's gonna be at Walmart.
Yup. Making it do what it's gonna do till you can go to Target so you can
Yep,
step
you know what I
up.
mean? And, yep, and then Target is gonna be as high as the majority of us get. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
Just imagine the artificial intelligence or the power in which a government, you know what I'm saying, a military, we're not playing with the same things.
Oh, absolutely not.
Not at all.
Absolutely not.
Not at all.
Absolutely.
But okay, so let's go back to the bias question. So how do you feel like we can mitigate some of these biases?
Yeah, I think it has to be twofold, right? I think the educators have a role, and then I think the institutions have a role, right?
Mm,
So because educators can only do they have control of their classrooms and the students, but some of this needs to you have to have a different level. It has to be institution wide. And so I think
mm,
from the educator standpoint, some of the things we talked about, understanding that how the biases sink in are infiltrated into AI and
mm,
understanding that The large language models grab their data from what's been out there on the internet, and that stuff is biased because it's like, the people who are putting the stuff in and the programmers, we all have biases, and it seeps into it's going to seep into the output of the whatever large language model that you're using. So understanding that up front and knowing that can happen, right? So then if you know it can happen, you know what to look for. To your point where you were saying earlier, you're looking for the biases that are built in that we sometimes overlook it. I think also evaluating the AI output critically. So what does that look like? That may look like getting the sources that the AI pulled it from.
Or Black sources.
Yeah. I mean, like, for real, it's
Yes.
not easy. And people think, oh, AI is going to do this. But when you do it right, you still got to do some work. You still have
Yes.
to, it's not like, okay, you could copy and paste stuff, but you run the risk of really embarrassing yourself. So you should be doing that, like critically comparing and contrasting. Okay, it said this is, I think also teaching the students AI literacy, which we talked about. And I also think being intentional about our professional development and training on AI and diversifying the content in which we are and showing people this stuff exists. So if we talk about biases built into this, show them, okay, there's some studies out here too that I can get my hands on later that shows how you type in an engineer, it's going to give you, even down to now, it's going to give you a lighter complected person.
Yeah.
Or if you put in social worker, it's going to give you, like, it's very, the internet and the data in the internet is it's biased. And so we have to be cognizant of that.
It's just like the country.
Bam, drop mic in the discussion. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And everybody else, you know what I mean? Because it was trained on human data.
Human data, and we're human, so the biases are going to seep in. So that, I think, from my experience, I don't think people really get that. I know when I spoke a couple of weeks ago and I shared that across the room, it was just this aha moment. People were like, oh, their face is, oh, I never thought about it like that. I'm like, yeah, that stuff is real,
Yeah.
So I definitely think I think for what educators can do. I think from the institution, I think, again, promoting professional development in AI, being very intentional about that. It has to be ongoing. It can't be a one and done. It's growing and growing. So if you do one and done, by the end of the year, it's obsolete. It could be obsolete, right?
Yes.
So being intentional about a plan to continue training and having offerings available, again, establishing some type of ethical AI use policy. What does that look like for your institution? I think that is something. There are some schools and some organizations that are doing that. And people are starting, I guess, to get on that. I think allowing space for educators and learners to just dabble in it, do it. I think that is one of the best ways to learn. You can ask questions, you can figure out, man, this, because one thing I've learned about just the little I do know is that one of the things it promotes, I believe AI promotes, generative AI more specifically promotes, is critical thinking, because you got to know how to prompt.
Yes. Yep.
You got to know how to ask them questions, right?
Yeah. That goes into inquiry-based learning.
Yes, absolutely.
You
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So, and that's what these organizations want. They want people who can critically think. They can train you on the technical stuff. But can you come in the door, look at a problem, think through all the different scenarios, come up with your own way of, like, I probably would handle it like this or that, and then bring it back to me as your manager and say, here's some ideas. What do you think? That's what they're looking for.
Yeah. So one of my favorite people, educators, critical theorists, Paulo Freire, right? Paulo Freire has this concept. He has two concepts. He has the banking model and the problem posing model.
Okay.
For a very long time, we have been in the banking model. We have been just banking information, and when you need to do an assessment, now you present your output. What he suggests is what you're talking about is problem posing.
Yes.
Get a problem, pose the problem, and figure out how to fix the problem, what we need to do, where's the problem coming from, really dive into understanding, the what he called conscientization, right? The critical consciousness of the whole aspect of it. Like,
I love that.
how can we be critical we don't have to be nasty.
Right,
To
right, right.
critical
Mhm.
is not to be nasty. And I think that with the help of artificial intelligence, if you do it right, but that's just like everything else. I look at it as it's it's going to give you what you put in it, right?
Mhm.
Like
Absolutely.
like if I don't know who um Sonia Sanchez is and I'm trying to figure out something, it's not just gonna just like give me some Sonia Sanchez type stuff.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's going to give you like whoever you put in there. If you put in
Hmm.
Eli Davis, it's going to give you Eli Davis, and it ain't going to be
Hmm.
Sonia Sanchez.
Right, right. Right,
Yeah,
right. Yeah,
you know what
yeah.
I'm saying? So I find that to be, I've learned so much using it.
Oh, yeah. It's
I've learned,
definitely a game changer.
Whew, I've
And you
learned
can easily
so much.
get overwhelmed. And so that's why I think some people haven't tried it because it is overwhelming. If you look at the news and you look at LinkedIn, you look at all these, it's chat GPT or generative AI, and it's all these different terms, all these different tools, and people are just like, ah. And that's why I encourage people, just try. You can't break the tool. Just try. And even in my classes, I give them literally in class,
Okay.
here's the prompt I want you to use. And then I'll bring it up so you can see everybody's output pop up, and we'll have everybody have the same prompt. I'm like, you see how different this is. Let's compare
Mhm,
and contrast in
mhm.
class, real time.
Yes.
Now
Yep.
people can see, oh wow, this is, yeah, okay,
Or they
totally.
also can see, like some of my students, that if you put in the prompt, if you highlight my question and you put it into a very similar GPT or a very similar large language model, it's going to spit out almost the same thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
If
Mhm.
it's going to talk about biases, it's not going to tell me what kind of biases.
Biases,
It's going
yeah.
to bring up biases. So
Mhm.
if you got a whole bunch of people that's turning in something that just says my biases are such, but nobody's telling me what
What?
biases they're talking about.
Red flag.
Red flag.
But the other piece of it too, though, and where educators are, especially in higher ed, is, and this is, I'm put a pin in that one thought. And I get excited, my brain all over the place. The other thing we have to be cognizant of are these plagiarism tools don't always catch chat GP. They don't always catch it. And so what's happening, you have to be very careful before you accuse a student of plagiarizing something, right? Plagiarism.
That's another question though. Is it plagiarism when ChatGPT is
See,
all it comes in and it's all originally
it
generated
is.
information
It
based
is.
off of your inquiry or your prompt?
You know what? I don't know the answer to that. I'm
Hmm.
still like,
That's a
I
tough one.
feel like that is something education is going to have to grapple with. I think here's what I like and I encourage and I expect is that you are transparent about the fact that you use AI.
So
So,
so so do you cite OpenAI?
yep, that's where
My
I'm.
my thing is with that, I wonder how many people out here have had Grammarly change almost a whole paragraph.
Come on, somebody.
You know what I
That's a
mean? And
point. That's true.
then do you cite Grammarly?
That is a very good point.
Yeah.
I think, I feel like this is a really good place that we're in because it's forcing us to reevaluate how we're doing education,
Mhm,
right? I think we've gotten so complacent. We educators, administrators, like the whole nine, right? We've
mhm,
gotten so complacent. And then your product, meaning the students that you're producing for the workforce, that's why you have a disconnect with businesses saying schools aren't producing the students aren't ready to be in the workforce. You have that disconnect, and you were kind of sharing that a little bit. I feel like it's forcing us to go back to the drawing board and really look at what's considered plagiarism now,
mhm, mhm.
right? To your point, if you've ever used any tool like Grammarly and it help you rewrite something, did you cite Grammarly?
Thank
If
you.
you use AI and it help you, did you cite? These are real conversations that,
Mhm,
yeah, we kind of got away with not having, but now we got to really circle the wagons and be like,
mhm.
how are we doing this? What are we doing? moving forward. How are we doing this? Like for reals, right?
Yeah. So in respect of your time, I appreciate it. I think that's a nice way to go ahead and send it off because that gives everybody something to think about. All
Yeah.
right. I would like to
Exactly.
say thank you,
You're
Nay, Dr.
welcome.
Marlena Ward Dodds.
It's a
I have
mouthful.
say that.
I said it's a mouthful.
Yeah, I haven't. When I talk to her or about her, I always call her Nay. So
Hmm.
you know what I mean.
Or Bird,
A
yeah. I
bird.
know. You
Mm,
know, Wesley was the only one that he used to call me Bird consistently. I miss
mhm,
him so much because he'd be
yeah,
like Bird, pick up the phone,
yeah,
Bird. But
yeah,
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 that was
yeah,
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 Nay or Bird or Nay Bird. And
yeah.
sometimes they throw them together. Never a dull moment. Never a dull moment.
Yeah, I am super proud of you. This is a pleasure. I've been in the South. Did I say pleasure?
Yes, you did.
I sure did. And it came out too. It was clear.
I mean, it was quick too. Just rolled on off.
This has been a pleasure, and I would like to thank you for being on my podcast,
Absolutely.
AI
My
with
pleasure.
Eli. So
I love it. Anytime,
yeah,
bro. Anytime.